I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
So you're probably wondering why I'm here to talk about Samurai Jack again so soon. Well, simply put, I've come to the decision to make a mini-series of sorts covering my quick thoughts that I have on each episode of the show's new season. After watching the second episode of Season 5, I found that I just can't seem to keep myself from talking about it, so I figured I'd make these videos to compromise. Let it be known that this video is going to be full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, I highly recommend you see it for yourself before continuing forward. With that said, let's start with the return of the highlight of the show for me and pretty much everyone else, Aku. Aku in this episode was as great as ever. It is made apparent that he feels both conflicted and exhausted with Jack because he's still continuing to journey on after all these years, and that leads to some interesting discussion that opens up many possible directions that the show could take as more episodes go on. Obviously, the voice changing from Mako to Greg Baldwin took some getting used to, but I don't think he does a bad job by any means. Of course, nobody could replace Mako, but it's not too far off to the point where it's distracting. At least while I was watching, it wasn't. The majority of episode 93 follows Jack as he struggles to escape from the daughters of Aku, those being the girls seen training to become fierce warriors back in the previous episode. Needless to say, I loved watching them put up a fight against Jack during their opening encounter in the forest. It was insane seeing them weaken Jack in such record time. I mean, they had a counter for literally everything Jack tried to throw at them. One of my favorite parts of the episode comes in shortly after he escapes from these female warriors, where he's seen hiding out under some robot residue while speaking with what I'm assuming to be as his inner spirit. The scene is just so meaningful because we get to see the former Jack that we all know, you know, the man of honor who deserved to wield the sword, converse with the present day Jack who isn't sure what to do anymore. He seems just as tired of this charade as Aku was in the opening sequence, and from what I could tell, he was even contemplating suicide during part of this so that he could finally join his ancestors where he rightfully belongs. It's kinda scary how dark this episode got, especially after the comedic lightheartedness that Aku brings to the table in the first few minutes. But that's one of the biggest compliments that I can give this episode. It managed to find the right amount of balance, and the tonal shifts flowed seamlessly to the point where there was a little bit of everything. This episode has fear, desperation, sadness, intensity, confusion, calmness, and so much more. This is the kind of darkness I was expecting from Season 5, and honestly, I think it's working out really well so far. Once Jack enters the temple in hopes of escaping the evil daughters is where the episode really begins to shine though. The figures essentially spread in search, shrouding themselves in dark hiding spots where they proceed to anticipate when Jack will reveal himself, then pounce. These action scenes are some of the coolest ones yet, especially when Jack is fighting them in total darkness. I admire how it could potentially be relating back to the girls' training in the darkness during the first episode, as it proves that their efforts ultimately paid off because they're able to attack with such precision when they're essentially blind. The best part of the episode, however, hands down, is the moment where Jack is hiding in the giant room with what I'm assuming to be our coffins of some sort. I'm not entirely sure what they are, but the music during this scene along with the daughters slowly closing in on Jack's location is one of the most overpowering scenes this series has ever had. I don't think any episode from the first 4 seasons compares to just how desperate this makes Jack look. And I want to go back to the music once again because it makes this scene. It's something you would hear in a movie during those last moments. It's powerful. There's no other word I would use to describe it. Jack does manage to escape in the nick of time and get away from the daughters once again, but just before he can get away for good, he encounters one of them in a hallway where they engage in battle one last time. Now I should mention that up until this point, Jack believes them to be robots, which is why this next moment comes as such a shock to him when he sees blood come out of this girl after he slits her neck. His expression speaks volumes when he comes to this realization. The episode ends with him using the resonance sword that Scaramouche had used in his previous encounter with him, destroying the concrete blocks behind him and plummeting into the river below. I also want to compliment the side story going on with the wolf fighting the green tiger monsters, as it symbolizes the exact same struggle that Jack was going through for the duration of this episode. It adds a brilliant touch that makes Jack's wounds seem all the more serious. I don't think he's ever been this brutally beaten before. And there you have it. These were my quick thoughts on all of the events of episode 93. Speaking of which, I've seen a lot of people confused with the numbering scheme of these episodes, and I'm in that boat as well. Considering the last episode of Season 4 was episode 52, and the first episode of Season 5 is 92, I can't help but wonder why there's only a difference of 40 here. I never really considered each episode to take place 1 year after the last, so I didn't expect it to be episode 102 because the numbering system would be symbolizing just that. But I'd like to know why the number 92 was chosen as the point where it would pick back up again. It's an interesting question to say the least. Anyhow, that's all I have to say on the topic. Feel free to let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments below, and I'll see you all in my next video.
Watch out.